reflection of nationalist orthodoxy, of the khadi-wearing congress.
That's right.
Do you think he's making a political point of it? And
I believe so. I mean, there's various theories about this, and I think it depends on who you ask and how that person feels about it. But I think that for an Indian to consistently dress in a Western suit and tie, and often a three-piece suit in the hot Indian weather, with the waistcoat as well, was quite. It had to be a deliberate choice. It had to be to convey a particular message. And you said it's, first of all, I think it's to convey his sense of equality with others who could afford to dress like that. Second, it was a rejection of the trappings of, you call it Hindu orthodoxy, I would simply say, of the traditional attire with which upper caste Hindus sort of brandish their nationalist credentials. And do remember that Ambedkar stayed aloof from the sort of the Congress Party and the Indian nationalist movement to a very great extent. I mean, his fundamental question was a freedom for whom? And he said essentially that until Hindu society had been reformed, and until such time as sort of the lower strata of Hindu society had been emancipated, then the freedom for the upper caste was not worth supporting. And that is a controversial position, and as you know, he's been excoriated for it by some critics even well after his death. And at the time, it wasn't a comfortable place to be in the movement for Indian nationalism. But he stuck to his guns. And I would say the attire was indeed, as you rightly said,
there's something else you say about his attire towards the end of the book, which is the image of Ambedkar as a suited and booted man directing other Indians who were, in a sense, not quite achieved the level of political consciousness that he had. And this is especially acute when you look at his views on Adivasis.
That's right.
Which you also talk about in the book, and I have it.
Well, there's both the village,
yeah.
the urban
and rural divide.
He had this conviction that the village was a sinkhole of iniquity, of discrimination, of prejudice, and he therefore refused to join Mahatma Gandhi in exalting the Indian village as the ideal sort of unit of Indian society, which Mahatma Gandhi had done from the publication of Hind Swaraj back in 1905, before he'd even come to India.
Was he aware of this, the fact that there is, of course, this image of, the westernized suited booted man telling, people who are less politically conscious how they should behave?
He may have been, because it's striking. If you look at some of the pictures of him in the Constituent Assembly, he's actually wearing an Indian bandana, though it's very often unbuttoned and open, presumably because the Constituent Assembly with a lot of human bodies in it must have been a very hot place to sit and talk. But he did occasionally wear suit and tie in Parliament too. I'm not saying that he didn't. But I think he must have been conscious that, in doing something as nationalist as adopting Free India's first constitution, that it made sense for him to dress in something more recognizably Indian. If you look at the photographs, official photographs of him in the cabinet as minister, he was usually in a suit and tie. But once in a while, you will find him in a bangala, which is, for those who don't know, the Indian jacket that Nehru made famous with the collar closed and buttons all the way down the front.